For anybody concerned about Texas as they make the jump over to the SEC, I'm going to stop you real fast. They're going to be fine. In fact, they're going to be more than fine with Steve Sarkisian at the helm because they not only have added in yet another top 5 recruiting class, but the recent additions coming in for the transfer portal are just the icing on the cake. Let's talk about the addition of UTSA star pass rusher Trey Moore. If you are new here, welcome on into the channel. My name is Cole Thompson. I'm a radio show host based in Houston, and I talk college football daily. So if this is the type of content you enjoy, plus coaching searches, the transfer portal, anything going on around the world of the national championship, and a bunch of other nonsense we call in our crazy sport, make sure you smash that subscribe button down below. Leave a comment telling me your thoughts on Texas's recent additions via the transfer portal. Tell your friends, your family, your mortal enemies, best of bros, college football aficionado fans, and Texas Longhorns everywhere about this channel, because we're on the race to become the #1 YouTube show talking college football. Give me a follow on social media at Mr. Cole Thompson. I call it Twitter. You call it X. I don't really care what Elon wants to call it. But that way, conversations surrounding our favorite sport never have to stop flowing. Texas is going to be fine once they make it to the SEC. They are now building a roster that is constructed of players that considered SEC schools. And that's a big step up for Steve Sarkisian going into year 4. You're no longer having to beat out teams like Oklahoma and Oklahoma State and TCU when it comes to the Big 12 status. Now you're putting your stamp down as the brand new member of a conference where it just means more by fortifying your roster. But the 3 recent additions added in via the portal are going to be the difference makers. And this is a big step moving forward when it comes to establishing a culture, but demanding excellence from proven commodities. That's an area where you're looking at Steve Sarkisian, and he's making sure he's adding in the right pieces. Not a bunch of pieces, but the proper ones that are only going to uptick the roster that much more and turn them from a pretender into a contender. Matthew Golden immediately is going to come in and be a difference maker at wide receiver. The Houston product was phenomenal the last 2 years, primarily as a special teams man. And you know you're going to need someone to go ahead and catch balls and kickoff returns and maybe even punt returns. He can do that. You also added in a great versatile chess piece at defensive back in Andrew Mabuka out of Clemson. This was the former ACC Rookie of the Year back in 2021. He can play in the slot. He can play at free safety. He's physical enough to play strong safety. So he fills a void, whatever you're doing, replacing Jahadae Barron or Jaron Thompson. It doesn't matter. He will come in right away and be an immediate difference maker. But the icing on the cake and the cherry on top of everything was Trey Moore. Moore was a kid who wanted more production. He wanted more eyeballs on his status, and he wanted to make sure wherever he landed, he was going to be a forceful, impactful name from the jump, and that's exactly what he will be at Texas. This is not some willy-nilly group of 5 player who just found success one season, because he did. He was the AAC Defensive Player of the Year, but his consistency has been the key element for anybody that wanted him. Last season, 17 tackles for losses. As a freshman, 18 tackles for losses, 9 sacks last year, 8 sacks the year prior. The kid is a human highlight reel that was always going to find his way to the Power 5 level. And now he's choosing Texas over dominant schools. Do you know who was going after a guy like Trey Moore? It wasn't a Tulane, and it wasn't a school like Oklahoma State or a TCU. And those programs absolutely wanted to add him in. But it was Alabama. It was LSU. It was Ohio State. It was Michigan. It was these different maker schools that were going to be names that we talk about gunning for a college football playoff spot. And he's staying home. He wants to be a part of Texas. He wants to be a part of the culture that's being built on the 40 acres. And he wants to be that difference maker from the jump that's going to fortify Texas's pass rush. A pass rush this past year that was pretty potent. And he's really damn good against the run. We know what Texas is as a run defense team. Top 5 in total yards allowed. Held Ollie Gordon to 45 yards in the Big 12 championship game. Not to mention only allowed 1 running back and 1 quarterback to hit the triple-digit marker. And they're returning several of those names this next year. Plus, you already have a young up-and-coming pass rusher that led your team in sacks and Ethan Burke back. Yeah, Texas is going to be fine. Texas is doing what I think a lot of people want Clemson to do. Because Clemson talks all this time about their culture being the biggest blessing and the biggest thing that separates them from every team in the ACC, really every team in college football. We don't believe in NIL. We don't want kids from the transfer portal. And that's been Dabo Swinney's downfall, not utilizing assets at your disposal while every other team is improving. Florida State won the ACC this past year, not just because they were able to out-recruit Clemson, but because they were able to utilize the transfer portal in their favor. Keon Coleman. You had a guy like Jaheim Bell. Not to mention what you brought in with Jared Verse the year before and Fentrell Cypress. Plus, you added in a guy like Trey Benson in the past, Johnny Wilson. They utilized the transfer portal because they realized it was an asset. And Texas is doing the same thing. But Clemson talks about having a culture. When you have a great culture built inside of a locker room, it doesn't matter who comes in because those already implemented in set culture will dictate what goes and what doesn't. They'll send a new player coming down and say, hey, man, welcome to Clemson University. This is exactly the way we run things here. And when we do things on our P's and Q's, no one can stop us. Well, Texas is doing the exact same thing. They didn't need a Matthew Golden. They want a Matthew Golden. They didn't need an Andrew Mabuka. They wanted an Andrew Mabuka. They didn't need a Trey Moore. But they said, you know what? If we can add in Trey Moore and take him away from programs like LSU and Alabama, schools that we potentially could meet in the national championship, or schools we can meet in Atlanta for our first season, yeah, we're going to do that too. And everybody that's already been implemented underneath Steve Sarkisian's ways will sit them down and say, hey, last year we went to the college football playoff. Last year we potentially won a national title. Or maybe we did win a national title. We do things a certain way here. You will follow this way. And if you do, not only will you be a household name, everybody will know that we're back and we mean business. Texas is nowhere near close to being BACK because to get there, you have to show a proof of concept and consistency. And the only thing that we've known about Texas for a while is that Texas play well in the big games, but then against feeble contests and different opponents who are lackluster or nowhere near their same tier, they kind of crumble. We've seen it time and time and time and time and time again, where they'll play in the big game, but then when they played the small school, they kind of crap the bed. Now we're seeing a different culture in Texas. Now we're seeing a different identity in Texas. And this is a big job because not everyone can be successful down on the 40 acres. But Steve Sarkisian is that guy. And now that you're adding in premier talents, guys who are going to be difference makers from the jump, guys who are going to come in right away, dictate their presence, and already feel like that they are one of the best at their positions, yeah, you're going to be just fine. Texas once again crushed it on the recruiting trail, but they've added in 3 difference makers that should be plug-and-play starters as soon as they touch down on campus. And now the only question is, not will Texas be successful in the SEC, but how many games are they going to lose against premier opponents since they treat themselves like one? Hey guys, thank you so much for watching that video. Don't hit the X button yet. Make sure you hit subscribe to keep up with all of our daily content found on Just Saying It and anything else that we post on this channel. Bye.